Hello, this is Simon Jones from Antiques for Everyone. Hello, today I've brought along a piece of commemorative ceramics designed by Eric Ravilious for the Wedgwood factory. The Wedgwood factory had its origins in the 18th century with their proprietor Josiah Wedgwood, and they're probably most famous for the Jasperware blue and white designs that you see produced through the 18th, 19th and 20th century. But today we're concentrating on a more modern piece made by the Wedgwood factory in the 20th century when new designers were coming in and updating the things that they were producing for the factory. The Wedgwood factory is a very famous English factory, one of the most famous English factories, starting in the 18th century and still running today. And during the 20th century, they employed a number of modern designers to sort of update their ceramics and have a bit more variety within their output from the factory. And Eric Ravilious was one of those designers. Eric Ravilious was a very famous 20th century painter and illustrator and designer, very, very interesting artist. And he produced a number of designs for Wedgwood, including commemorative mugs. So there were two that he did in particular. 1937 King George the sixth mug, which it was one of his designs. And then this one here, which he designed for Queen Elizabeth II in 1953. So as you can see, it's a very stylized design, painted with a whole variety of different motifs, very different to traditional commemorative items that have been produced over the centuries. If you look on the base, we have some marks on here from a design by Eric Ravilious and printed marks for the Wedgwood factory. Now, this particular design you see come up in auction relatively often. This one with the sort of pink border around the base is probably the most common. They don't make a dramatic amount. It's probably 100, 150 in auction, something in that sort of region. But occasionally you get different colour variations and they can make considerably more. So sometimes you get a yellow or a blue around the base. And there was a green one that I saw sold last year, which had made around, I think it was around £1,300 in auction. So there's a huge difference in the colour variations. And that is simply because this one is a much more common example. And those with a rarer colours, they're much more scarce when they come up, and they're much more sought after. But the great thing about these is a sort of an overlap of collectors. So it might be somebody that's interested as a Wedgwood collector. It might be somebody who collects commemorative items relating to royal families, or it might be somebody that's interested in Eric Ravilious and the designs that he produced. So there's a whole overlap of different collectors who could get involved with something like this. And the Wedgwood factory is a really interesting one to look at, whether you're looking at early pieces from the 18th century right through to the 20th century. But in particular, I like the 20th century designs when they brought in a whole variety of different artists to really update, modernise their factory. And that's something that definitely would be interesting for you to go away and research and look into a little bit more.